Tonight on News 3 New Mexico, droughts across the state leave farmers in panic.
And as those drought conditions worsen, we're seeing another fire weather watch. Find out more in my first weather forecast.
The Pioneer Days Rodeo in Clovis is coming early this year. That story and more right now.
This is News 3 New Mexico, your local source for news, sports, and first weather.
Good evening and welcome to News 3 New Mexico. I'm Andres Chavez.
And I'm Paige Guard. Thank you so much for watching.
A U.S. Air Force F-16 Fighting Falcon assigned to the 49th Wing crashed west of Holloman Air Force Base near White Sands National Park. The sole pilot on the board successfully ejected and was transported by ambulance for medical care. There were hazardous chemicals on board the aircraft. An investigation conducted by a board of qualified officers is underway to determine the cause of the incident. Following the incident, White Sands National Park remains open to visitors, but areas past the Mile 3 marker remain closed. Police in Las Cruces are asking for information on the current whereabouts of 25-year-old Isaiah Joseph Ray as they continue their search for the suspect. Ray allegedly shot and killed 34-year-old Steven Sanchez at a home on Princess Jean Drive on Monday around 3:30 a.m. After police arrived, Sanchez was pronounced dead at the scene, and their investigation determined Ray to be the primary suspect. Ray is believed to have a firearm and should be considered armed and dangerous. Anyone who has potential information on the suspect is encouraged to call the Las Cruces Police Department at 575-526-0795.
Xylazine, also known as Trank, has recently been found in samples tested by the State Adulterant Checking Program, according to the New Mexico Department of Health. Xylazine is a central nervous system depressant approved for veterinary use, but not for use in humans. It's sometimes combined with heroin or illicit fentanyl, but this is the first time that it's been found in New Mexico. Xylazine increases the likelihood of suffering fatal drug poisoning and may make necrosis from wounds or wounds from injections more likely, according to the DEA. Because of this, the Department of Health is urging people to educate themselves about xylazine overdose. Testing strips will soon become available at harm reduction sites statewide.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is warning about an E. coli outbreak. The CDC on Tuesday said a dozen people in California and Washington State have been sickened after eating a batch of organic walnuts. 7 people became so ill that doctors admitted them to hospitals. The walnuts were produced at Gibson Farms, a California farm in Hollister. The Food and Drug Administration says the company voluntarily recalled its organic light, halves, and pieces shelled walnuts last week. While people in only 2 states have become ill, the recalled walnuts also were sold in stores across 17 states. Those were mostly in the western region. The government says stores that sold the walnuts should notify customers about the recall. If people have the walnuts, the product should be thrown out, and people should clean surfaces of where the walnuts have touched. According to the CDC, the contaminated Gibson Farms walnuts were received by 8 stores in New Mexico, including Semilla Natural Foods in Las Vegas. You should dispose of the contaminated walnuts immediately if you believe you purchased them.
The water levels of the city of Portales water tanks fell by 4 feet last weekend following the shift from Stage 3 to Stage 2 water restrictions. The tank shifted from 29.5 feet to 25.3 feet, pushing the city closer to the point where Stage 3 water restrictions may be required again if the water level falls below 18 feet, in line with current drought contingency plan. Current modified water restrictions allow residential watering for 30 minutes once per week at designated times, allow for recirculating water in pools and fountains, and permit the use of shut-off hoses, buckets, gray water, and reclaimed water. In a press release, the City of Portales government urged residents to follow the modified Stage 2 water restrictions closely to prevent water levels from falling further.
Farmers across New Mexico are crossing their fingers and looking to the skies. Like many in the state, they're hoping for generous rains as we head into the summer months. Johnny Coker of our sister PBS station KRWG in Las Cruces has more.
The Rio Grande is once again flowing down from Colorado through southern New Mexico. But the water currently running is destined for use in Mexico and Texas, while New Mexico's irrigation season won't begin until June, as announced by the Elephant Butte Irrigation District. Farmers in the Mesilla Valley have historically been reliant on river water for crops, but the ongoing drought has led many to dependence on groundwater. Ken Stark, owner of Lavinia Winery in southern Doña Ana County, explained that even the well-pumped water is at risk due to the lack of moisture that's stricken the area.
It's a scary feeling because my well was drilled back in the 1950s originally. In those days, they didn't drill irrigation wells but a couple 100 feet deep. The guys that have put in wells in the last 10 years, especially most of them have been people that farm pecans, and they're putting wells in that are 500 to 1,000 feet deep. And these old wells like mine, at some point in time, are going to be too shallow.
According to the U.S. Drought Monitor, nearly the entire state of New Mexico is experiencing some level of drought conditions. This, combined with record-breaking temperatures from last year, has some experts concerned. Dr. Dave Dubois is the state climatologist for New Mexico. He said that rising temperatures linked to climate change are exacerbating water conservation efforts throughout the state.
Our aquifer for water is doing pretty good, but all of our aquifers are finite resources. And once we extract them, you know, the recharge is very, very, very slow on a lot of these aquifers. So how much water do we expect to be using more than we are now? And a lot of that's driven by climate, because, you know, when we have warmer temperatures, crops need more water. You know, and when we have drought, the atmosphere is actually thirstier, meaning water is evaporating from the soils as well as evaporating from the plants themselves.
Dr. Dubois said that there are techniques to cope with continued drought and the lack of fresh water, but those techniques come with an associated cost, both environmental and monetary.
There's ways to manage when we don't have water, so using different engineering technologies and methods to basically reuse it. And so there's a technological challenge, and it's always going to yield a cost. You know, how much does it cost? How much are willing to pay if you're going to use this alternative source of water? And what are their new technologies, and can we wait for those?
Who knows when the drought's going to be over? But our water is limited, and if we all have to drink out of the same tap, sooner or later, the guys with the big straw is going to suck it so hard that my well's going to be dry. I think that if we live in a more conservative way, that at least it'll last longer, and that's all you can do.
For now, hope remains high for a strong monsoon season, with southern New Mexicans looking for respite from 2023's record-breaking temperatures. I'm Johnny Coker.
Well, thank you, Johnny, so much for that report, and our hopes and prayers for all the farmers, especially that are dealing with that severe drought.
And speaking of that severe drought, how's the weather going to look for the rest of the week?
Yeah, well, we see those temperatures start to dig up. Our allergies and our fire weather watches are starting to get more and more relevant as time goes on. Currently, throughout the Grand United States, we're seeing a lot of rain sort of in the central part of the country right here, but we are still seeing snow in Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, all the way into May. But as we take a look at our allergy report, grass and tree allergies in New Mexico are still very high right now, so be sure to keep on the lookout for those. As we take a look at our fire weather warning, as you see in all of this pink color, including areas like Donna Ana, Lincoln, Otero, Sierra counties, as well as just like all of the pink area from Texas all the way up here, are going to have a fire weather warning until Saturday at 9. I'll have more on that in my full weather forecast, so back to you.
Thank you, Jonathan. For the first time in 52 years, the annual Pioneer Days Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association Rodeo is being held the first weekend of May instead of the first weekend of June. According to an article in the Eastern New Mexico News, the three-day event moved to better accommodate rodeo contestants and contractors who are seeing more options during the summer. The rodeo has become recognized as the best in this part of the country, according to Mounted Patrol's website. The annual Pioneer Days parade is set for 10 a.m. Saturday on Main Street. The rodeo will be held at the Curry County Events Center at 7 p.m. nightly. Children 5 and under can enter for free. And competitions will include bull riding, team roping, bronc riding, and barrel racing. The three-day event will even bring in several world champions to compete in the rodeo.
Residents of Sierra County and surrounding areas will have the opportunity to have their private well water tested this Saturday, May 4th, thanks to an effort from the New Mexico Environment Department and New Mexico Department of Health. Up to 100 free water tests will be offered starting at 10 a.m., and you can have your well water tested by bringing at least a liter in a glass or plastic container to Smoky Bear Historical Park. Before collecting the sample, make sure to let the water run for at least 2 to 3 minutes and collect it right before you take it for testing. Also, collect the water at the wellhead if you have any home filtration systems.
July 4th is coming up, and Simple Simon's Pizza in Portales is planning to hold another Independence Day bash this year. You can expect vendors, food trucks, and possibly even live entertainment at this event. Last year, some of the highlights of their Independence Day bash included face painting and live music from Uncle Mike's. There was a full day of music, and admission was free for the event, which took place from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Simple Simon's Independence Day bash is likely to be just as exciting this year. They ask that you stay posted as more information on the event becomes available.
The New Mexico Farmers Marketing Association is hosting online and in-person food safety training for farmers interested in improving their practices. The training event will feature Tier 1 and 2 training exploring food safety hazards that farmers might encounter in their day-to-day practices and introducing steps you can take to reduce hazards on your own farm. After the concepts are introduced in the Tier 1 training, participants will have the opportunity to write up a farm risk assessment to increase food safety on their farm and to become an approved supplier in the NM Grown program. You can find more information and sign up for one of the sessions by going to the New Mexico Farmers Marketing Association website at www.newmexicofma.org. Dock fishing is returning to Brantley Lake State Park near Carlsbad. A donation from the Great Outdoors Fund reviewed the popular attraction. It includes a floating fishing dock to Brantley Lake State Park. New Mexico State Park staff and volunteers descended on the park recently to install a new walkway and floating fishing dock at the Seven Rivers boat ramp. Now anglers have a safe and accessible platform to enjoy one of their favorite pastimes at Brantley Lake State Park. The donation to purchase and fund the construction of the dock was made possible through a collaboration between the Great Outdoors Fund and Occidental. The fishing is one of the top activities at Brantley Lake State Park near Carlsbad, and the dock is popular with the local community and visitors. Coming up after the break, Jonathan will have their full weather forecast for you.
But first, here's a look at today's financial market.
Welcome back to News 3 New Mexico. Let's take a look at that weather, shall we? As we see, most of the rain is going to be in the central part of the United States. We're seeing it kind of like right here, but we also are seeing still snow up here in Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming, all the way into May, and even some in Denver, Colorado, as you can see right here. As we take a look at New Mexico, we're not seeing pretty much any moisture. All of that moisture is coming up all the way down here through Lubbock, Texas, and kind of traveling that way. The same goes for the eastern portion of the state. Our fire weather warning is still into effect, and all of this pink color right here throughout the state, and that's going to be until Wednesday at 8 p.m. for counties like Tobacco, Guadalupe, Quay, and Roosevelt. And that's going to remain true for the rest of the state. But as you can see here, we've got a lot of wind speeds with mostly 10 miles per hour to even 20. But as we start to progress into Thursday, you see those wind speeds start to die down during the afternoon at around 3 o'clock. But as you see, it's going to start to slowly pick back up again as we enter into Friday evening, starting to see those 20 miles per hour start to come right back in. Taking a look at our current temperatures, we've got a lot of 70s and 80s throughout most of the state. Like we're seeing a 70 up here in Gallup, we're seeing 87 down here in Las Cruces. The central part of the state is 80 in Albuquerque and 78 in Santa Fe. As we take a look at the eastern part, we're seeing 78 in Raton, and we're hitting our high in Roswell at 94. And taking a look at eastern New Mexico and West Texas, we have Portales at 89, Lubbock at 88, and Amarillo at 81. Tonight's lows, we're going to be seeing a lot of 30s, 40s, and 50s. We've got 36 and 35 up here in the northwest. We've got 54 down here in Las Cruces and 55 in Truth or Consequences. We're going to be seeing a 42 up here in Santa Fe. And then for the eastern part, in the northeast, we've got 40 in Raton with 45 in Clayton, 54 in both Carlsbad and Hobbs. But we're seeing 52 in Portales and 51 in Clovis. And for Texas, 50 in Amarillo and 58 in Lubbock. Tomorrow's highs are starting to see those temperatures go up, up, up as we see 72 in Gallup and Farmington, 86 down here in Las Cruces. We're seeing a 77 in Albuquerque, 72 in Raton with a 70 in Clayton, and our high is going to be Carlsbad at 90. And as we take a look at eastern New Mexico and West Texas, we're seeing 80 in Portales, 77 in Clovis, and 84 in Lubbock. Taking a look at our 7-day forecast, we've got a lot of temperatures heading into the 90s for Roswell, specifically on Sunday with some high winds, and then 93 up on Wednesday. As we take a look at Carlsbad, we're seeing 90s throughout almost the entire week with the exception of Saturday, but we're really focusing on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday as those high winds start to come back. Tucumcari is going to be seeing much of the same story, but this time in the 80s as we see 82 and 85 and for Tuesday and Wednesday with those high winds coming back up. And finally in Portales, we're seeing some chances of thunderstorms on Saturday and Sunday at 72 and 83, but we are seeing wind on both Monday and Tuesday with our highs at 88.
We're definitely going to need that rain, especially with how dry and windy it's been.
Yeah, just be careful of those thunderstorms. That lightning will get you.
Yeah, well, I'm normally going to be excited for that rain, but like you said, beware of the lightning, beware of that. Don't fly a kite then, especially with a key. Well, that is all the news we have for you guys right now. We'll be back with more after the break. Welcome back. Fentanyl Awareness Day is coming up on May 7th, and the New Mexico Department of Health wants New Mexicans to learn the signs of fentanyl overdose and the proper way to respond and save a life. Some signs of opioid overdose include slow or no breathing, loss of consciousness, choking, and pale, cold, or blue skin. Naloxone, a medicine capable of reversing an opioid overdose, is one of the best responses. According to statistics from the New Mexico Department of Health, fentanyl deaths rapidly escalated in the state and peaked at hundreds of deaths in New Mexico in 2021 and 2022. Investment into drug use prevention and treatment by the state continues, but the best thing you can do is know the signs and be prepared. The Hepatitis and Harm Reduction Program at New Mexico Health provides naloxone at no charge through mail and at public health offices. You can also acquire fentanyl test strips at public health offices throughout the state.
The annual Communities Talk event is coming up at the Clovis Zoo, offering equal parts fun and education. It will take place on May 4th between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m., and during that time, admission to the Hillcrest Park Zoo in Clovis will be completely free. During the event, you and your family can expect to enjoy go-karts, obstacle courses, raffles, and informational booths about underage drinking prevention. And of course, you'll also get to see all the amazing animals who live at the zoo. This event takes place this Saturday, so if you don't have any weekend plans already, this might be the right way to end your week.
A new food truck is coming to Clovis, and they're expecting to serve up a variety of German delicacies. Jägerschnitzel, Spassel, and Bratwurst are just a few of the treats expected. Since Coulter hasn't opened up yet, they're taking suggestions on what dishes to include on their menu. You can follow along with their progress and make your own suggestions by visiting www.facebook.com/Coulter and more.
Drunk driving is a cause of injury, death, and grief across the world, and Santa Fe County has started a new Take a Ride on Us promotion to help put an end to it. If you're a Santa Fe County resident in need of a ride between 6 p.m. Friday and 2 a.m. on Monday, you can use the code SFWKD24 in your Uber app to qualify for $10 off per trip for up to 2 trips each weekend. The vouchers are first come, first serve, with only 500 being available in total before they run out.
The 6th annual Live, Ride, Repeat Veteran Fundraiser is coming up in Alamogordo this Saturday on May 4th, and you're invited to go. The event raises funds to combat suicide in veterans. Veterans face disproportionate challenges, and statistics from Veteran Administration estimates that around 22 veterans lose their life to suicide every day. Beyond raising funds, the Live, Ride, Repeat fundraiser seeks to raise public awareness around the issue. You can sign up at the Liberty Cycles on 649 Highway 70 West between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. on May 4th. The cost is $20 per rider or $30 for a rider passenger, and cars are welcome. Residents of Gallup will have the opportunity to enjoy a new art installation at the McKinley County Courthouse next year as a part of the Public Art Project. The works will be created by Monty Claw, Jerry Brown, and Tim Washburn, 3 local dine artists. A wood-carved sculpture titled Eagle Dancer will be installed by Washburn, while Brown will create a canvas depicting a night sky, and Claw will recreate 3 mural-sized paintings depicting McKinley County's rich cultural heritage. These installations come after the conclusion of a 2023 contest by the New Mexico Art in Public Places program. The works are expected to be complete towards the end of the year or by early 2025. And coming up after the break, Jaden will have the latest news in the sports world for you, so stay tuned.
Welcome back, sports fans. I'm Jane Phillips. Let's get into this week's sports. KENW softball is hitting the road this week to Canyon, Texas to face Texas women in a 3-game series for their Lone Star Conference Tournament Series. The Lady Hounds got the 10th seed as Texas women's was placed at the 7th seed. The winner of this matchup is going to face UT Tyler as they have the 2 seed. We'll have scores and updates next time. KENW baseball wrapped up their season this past weekend, and the Hounds had an up-and-down season as they finished the year with a 21-29 record, and the conference record was 19-29. and their home record was 12-14. What a good season for the Hounds. MLB has a couple of big-time games tonight as the San Francisco Giants play the Boston Red Sox at 5:30 tonight, as the Giants have a record of 14-16, and the Red Sox have a record of 17-13. We also have the Chicago Cubs playing the New York Mets tonight at 5:30, as the Cubs have a record of 18-12, as the Mets have a record of 15-14. And to top off the night at 7 p.m., the LA Dodgers play the Arizona Diamondbacks, as LA has a record of 19-13 heading into this game. Arizona has a record of 14-17. That's all the sports I have for you tonight. We'll be back at the desk after the break.
Well, that is all the news we have for you guys today. Just a quick reminder for all those that are going to be in Santa Fe for the free ride event. The code is going to be underneath there for you guys to avoid drinking and driving. Thank you so much for watching News 3 New Mexico. Have a good night.